Still the MMA dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 117, here with my always brilliant and beautiful co-host, the Fight Geek. Fight Geek, how you doing today, man?
Doing excellent, man. Happy to be back talking a stacked fight card this upcoming weekend. How are you?
Yeah, doing very well. We've got a lot to cover. Here's what we've got on tap, ladies and gentlemen. First, my opening question for Fight Geek. Then a recap and review of the epic UFC 267. After that, jumping into the preview and picks for the stacked UFC 268 Usman versus Covington 2 card. Going to quickly touch on Canelo versus Plant, and then it's on to listener questions and more. But Fight Geek, first, the opening question for you. So, Hamza Shamayev, to me, is the biggest story coming out of 267. He destroyed Li Jingliang, the Leech, easily within one round, toyed with him, brought him over to Dana, talked a bunch of shit, and then tapped him out. He called out Nate Diaz, and as we know, Nate has one more fight on his contract. Dana White earlier today said he's 100% going to try to make Nate Diaz versus Hamza Shamayev next. What do you think of that fight? Yes or hell no to Nate Diaz versus Shamayev?
Well, I mean, I think it's been discussed quite a bit, but obviously a great opportunity for Shamayev and a horrible opportunity for Nate Diaz. I mean, as much of a Diaz fan as I am, I mean, anyone with two eyes who's been paying attention can see that is two guys going in opposite trajectories right now. Nate's not even a ranked welterweight. So I don't see what the huge upside is other than just absolutely destroying, an older, aging guy with a huge name. So if I'm Nate Diaz, I don't take that fight. But obviously I see why Dana would want to do that on the last fight of Nate's contract. I mean, it's, Dana 101 right there. So
yeah, it's a little funny.
Makes almost all the sense in the world. But to me, the fight for Shamayev is Gilbert Burns. I mean, I think that is the most logical fight. I think that fight answers the most questions. And yeah, I think that's the fight.
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that. I completely agree. It's no secret, friend of the program, Gilbert Burns. I completely agree with you that Burns versus Hamzat should be next. I'm going to look into Fight Geek. We haven't discussed this before, guys, but Fight Geek, I'm going to look into talking to Gilbert and possibly getting him on the show in the next few weeks. We'll see what happens if Shamayev hasn't gotten booked against someone else and see if he can talk about it.
That's the fight that makes the most sense. That's the fight that proves that, Shamayev is a title holder or a title challenger.
We've had Gilbert on twice. We can have him on a third time.
Yeah, Gilbert is a tough test for everyone. As everyone knows, he put up a solid fight versus Kamaru.
Knocked Kamaru Usman down.
Was able to be offensive in different spots. So, I think that fight's amazing. Nate Diaz, being on the last fight of his contract, I think has to fight Conor McGregor to assure that trilogy is completed. Conor has a ton of question marks around him, so a fight versus Nate Diaz is very winnable for him.
Fight Geek, hold up though. The problem with the Conor-Nate Diaz 3 fight is timing. Nate's going to have to wait a really long... When is Conor going to be fit to fight? He's still recovering big time from that broken leg.
I mean, it's been, off the top of my head,
July. It happened in July.
Okay, so I don't know. I don't know how many fights Nate has been offered, in the second half of this year.
He'd have to wait until July of 2022 at least.
It's just hard for me to believe that, Nate Diaz is heading towards a contentious end to his UFC career as I think, is he 34? How old is he?
Yeah, well, let's be honest. Let's be honest on what Nate wants to do, just to spell it out. Nate wants to finish his contract and go and box Jake Paul for a whole bunch of money. And Jake wants to do that. I'm sure
that makes a ton of sense for Nate, but he has to get that McGregor fight. He has to. That's the most important fight of his career for sure.
He probably thinks he can... I hate to be this guy, but don't yell at the messenger, guys. I think he can just make a lot more money boxing Jake Paul.
Well, and he can take a lot less damage. I mean, a lot of the problems Nate has is that, he's a horrible defensive wrestler. He can be taken down quite easily by the dominant guys.
That's why I don't know why people want to see this Shamayev versus Diaz.
It's an absolutely horrific stylistic matchup.
It makes no sense.
Especially with how strong, young, and vital Shamayev is right now. I mean, the guy is an absolute steamroller at this point. Maybe Nate Diaz of, 5-6 years ago, who had a lot less tread on the tires, could make it interesting. But I mean, at this point, Nate is slowed down significantly, and even when he's on his back, he doesn't show much. He didn't show much off his back the last few times we've seen him. So I don't see where the upside is.
Some people are saying to me, some people say, yeah, but if Nate beats him, that'll be so huge.
Well, obviously,
but I don't think he's not going to, guys. He's not going to.
The thing about Shamayev is people don't understand how big and rangy he is.
Nate does not have the power. Nate doesn't have the power in his hands to finish Shamayev.
And Nate is very slow at this point. That's why he gets hit a ton every fight.
Yeah. Okay. So
I mean, it's a bad fight. I think it's got to be McGregor Diaz, and then I think it's got to be Burns Shamayev. Those are no-brainers in my opinion.
Okay. And then really quickly, so Neil Magny was calling for Hamza Shamayev on the, I believe, December 18th card, the late December card. You're not a fan of that?
I mean, Neil Magny has the size.
I think Burns is the fight.
He's big, but I think Neil Magny fighting Wonder Boy is a better matchup right now, something along those lines. Two guys that are kind of in no man's land, got to sort themselves out.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're going to start at the top of UFC 267 and quickly go down. We obviously can't cover everything, but UFC 267, Blachowicz versus Teixeira. What a card, Fight Geek. I thought it was really...
I might go out on a limb and say this is... my favorite card I can remember for a long time. I mean, this card was just amazing in my opinion. 266
was pretty damn fun as well.
I don't know. I thought that Jan Sandhagen fight was about as high-level mixed martial arts in 2020.
We'll get to that. Okay, let's not... Yeah, we'll get to that. Okay, so let's start off with the main event. Glover Teixeira and new... at, I believe, is it 42 years old or did he just turn 43?
Yeah, it's 42, I believe.
Okay, yeah. So, anyways, 42 years old, got the submission via rear naked choke at 3 minutes and 2 seconds of round number 2. Total domination against the previous one-time defending champ, Jan Blachowicz. Just a dominating performance from start to finish. Viking, what do you make of this? Like, this is insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the definition of styles make fights. I picked Glover to win. I said, I mentioned his grappling advantage multiple times. I just saw that was a huge difference. Glover's very slow now, so I knew he was going to get hit. And I think he got hit solid once and actually kind of got put on his back foot. But
in the second round, a little bit early, Jan started...
Yeah, the thing is I think it can just be, broken down into this statement. Glover Teixeira is just a better mixed martial artist than Jan Blachowicz. He was able to just implement, more strengths of his game and impose his will. And, that's a horrible matchup for Jan at any age. So, I think it's just a case of styles make fights, and Glover's the better fighter. I mean,
yeah, and I hate to do this.
Ago, I think Glover beats him also.
I hate to give you credit. I hate giving you credit, Fight Geek, but this is one of the rare times where I will own it. I was wrong on this fight. I got it wrong. Fight Geek, unfortunately, did get it right. He picked Glover. I picked Jan. And Jan just got totally outclassed, couldn't stop the takedown at all, got dominated the whole first round, and I thought, at the end of the, by the time that the rear naked choke came in, halfway through round 2, he was done.
He had conceded. I mean, he tapped quickly. You know what it was? I really think it came down to the strength, too. Jan is a big, strong, powerful guy, and he was beating a lot of former 185ers, and he was keeping the fight exactly where he wanted it and engaging on his terms. He ran into an old man who had more strength than him and didn't allow him to get to those spots. And Glover, I'm not sure that Glover becomes champion at this point against any other light heavyweight in the top 5. But,
no, I don't know about that at all.
Well, I don't know about that either. But, yeah, I think that this was a very good matchup, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so what do you think of... Okay, so off that point, real quick, and then we're going to move on to Jan Sandhagen. But before that, last question. Glover Teixeira is now scheduled to fight Yuri Prochazka in early 2022 for the light heavyweight title. I wrote on Twitter earlier, I think Glover's going to win because Yuri has not, he hasn't shown any kind of superb takedown defense throughout his career. He's shown some earlier in his career,
but
not in the
think
UFC, but
the difference is Yuri is young, athletic, is very mobile, and has much faster and violent hands.
Am I crazy for picking Glover?
I don't think you're crazy, but I would think that Yuri's a big favorite because he's going to hit Glover a lot. He's going to have an unbelievable speed advantage, something Jan really didn't have. So I think when we've seen Glover struggle in the past, it was with guys like Gustafsson who were able to really use speed and range. And I think Yuri's that guy. So I think Yuri will touch him up and KO him.
All right. Okay, so enough about that. Let's move on to the co-main event. And I think as you sort of touched on, definitely, in my opinion, the best fight of the night by far. Peter Yan versus Corey Sandhagen. Peter Yan defeating Corey Sandhagen, I believe 49-46 across the board in a unanimous decision. I scored it 4-1 for Yan, with Sandhagen taking the first round. The second was extremely close. Some people could say it was for Corey, but I think at the very worst it was 3-2 for Yan. What did you think of this fight? Because I'll say this, Fight Geek, this was the first fight ever with Yan, I admit, where I was truly in awe of him. And maybe I'm late to the party. I admit it. I'm late to the party. But I get it now.
Tad late. Obviously, this was his signature performance versus his best competition, in my opinion. So
I was in awe of him.
I think this brought out the best of him, and absolutely. I think you saw that he checks every single box. I mean, he is just an absolute terminator. His will to just keep coming forward, the athleticism and explosiveness of the combinations. I mean, he fights almost like, the hooks are like Tyson-esque. The
he also
spinning back
seems to gain momentum and power as the fight goes on.
I've been singing Peter Yan's praises for years on this show. I mean, I've been a big fan.
No, but he's gotten much better still.
Oh, well, he's continued to improve. He's still young. I think it's been stated that, again, he's incredibly powerful. That's really the difference because
this isn't the Peter Yan who fought Jimmy Rivera at UFC 238. I saw that fight live.
Well,
this is not that Peter Yan.
For sure. But he has always been the type of fighter who comes on slow and is just a terror late. I mean, if you remember the Aljo fight, it was much like this fight where he was really just storming on. I think
it's incredible how his mid-fight adjustments might be the best. He might be the best mid-fight adjuster that I can think of, at least. I mean, Jones is up there.
The amount
Stipe
of kicks
up
he
there.
absorbed from Corey was just crazy.
Do you think is he the greatest mid-fight adjuster in terms of making adjustments on the fly?
I mean, I don't know if
Jose Aldo was good at that as well.
I feel like that is just his game plan overall, is to assess you and then march you down, and he's essentially done that in all of his performances. So,
because he loses the first round a lot of times, and I feel like he's reading you. He's downloading
and he's
info.
not necessarily losing it as much as he's just not throwing as much volume. I mean, because by the third and fourth, it's just he's so warmed up, and he's just hitting you with power shots and the variety, the body, the kicks, the spinning back kicks,
by mid-second round, he was reading Corey completely.
And the ability to keep the fight standing, his takedown defense and scrambles, I mean, just makes him the elite of the elite fighters who can keep the fight where he wants it, and where he wants it, he brutalizes you over time. So, with that being said, could not be more impressed with Sandhagen. I mean, great performance hanging in there, taking monstrous shots. I had the fight 3-2, so I thought it was close early, very close until.
What rounds did you give Corey? What rounds? 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Okay.
In real time.
Yeah. Okay.
But late it was just all Jan. I mean, so many great moments in that fight. And just the pace, the variety, the toughness. Both guys just eating shots. Just insanity. Great fight.
Let me ask you this. Any thoughts on the fact that Martinez in the octagon afterwards announced Peter Yan as the two-time bantamweight champion. And in case you thought that was a typo or an error on his part, it actually was not. Later on, the UFC clarified that Petr Yan got another diamond or ruby, however you want to call it, on his belt, and that technically they're counting it as a title defense. So that's pretty controversial, I'd say. Although he is still technically the.
I don't know how it's controversial. I'd say it's just stupid.
Okay.
I mean, does anybody think that's cool or makes sense? I mean,
no, it doesn't make it. No, it makes no sense at all. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. I think the only reason they actually awarded him and announced him that way is because it was on free TV and they were trying to convince as many people as possible that this is the best guy in the world and wanted to make sure they could phrase it that way. I think it was a marketing tool.
Okay, I agree with that. So let me ask you this. Who is the biggest threat to Petr Yan and his title reign going forward? Obviously, he's the interim champ. He's got to face Aljamain Sterling in a rematch to unify the belts, and if he wins that, but who's the biggest challenge to him? Is it Sterling or is it someone else?
The only person for the foreseeable future that I think would be a challenge to him to beat him would be Henry Cejudo.
Wow. Okay. What about TJ Dillashaw?
I mean, I think TJ's a little long in the tooth to carry the physicality over 5 rounds that he'll need for Yan, but I think as far as game planning and technique, TJ would be the best, competitor for Yan. But I just don't think at his advanced age he's going to have the physicality to withstand that kind of brutal fight late.
Okay, for what it's worth, here's my 2 cents opinion. Ready? I think that the biggest challenger to Yan is Corey Sandhagen again, but I get that they're not going to meet again for another year or 2, but I think they're going to meet again. The
best thing about Corey is that he still has controversial losses to Aljamain Sterling and TJ Dillashaw at the top, so he'll have an opportunity to rematch both of those guys someday, I'm sure.
Nothing controversial about his loss to Sterling, though.
The only thing controversial is that he got smashed. So
right.
He's such a great fighter that people would generally lean to give him the benefit of the doubt, at least performance-wise. Not necessarily that he'd win, but that he'd put on a better show than that.
Absolutely. Okay, so should we move on to the next fight? You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, Islam Makachev defeats Dan Hooker via Kimura at 2 minutes and 23 seconds of round number 1. Just total domination from Islam Makachev.
This is what I more or less expected, unfortunately. I know Dan is a big fan favorite, but I think he's kind of been snuffed out as an elite 155er.
So let me ask you this, Fight Geek. So after the fight, DC, as you guys know, I'm a DC stan. I'm a huge DC fan, but I can remain unbiased. DC did something controversial. He went into the cage and he said, "Islam, tell me why you deserve the next title shot over the winner of Geichi Chandler next week." Now, obviously, DC is a teammate of Islam, so obviously he's got a bit of a bias, and Justin Geichi got all mad. He tweeted, "Suck it harder, DC," or something like that. And, they went back and forth. What were your thoughts? Was that unprofessional, or was that fair play from DC?
That's having, friends in high places. That's the way the world works, man.
Was it unprofessional of Daniel Cormier, or was it okay?
I don't necessarily think it's unprofessional. That's his guy. His guy got the spotlight in the 15 minutes, Did
Geichi have a right to be as upset
Absolutely.
as he was?
Geichi's a prize fighter who wants to be the top dog. I love that Geichi stood up for himself and mouthed off because I think that's on brand for him. So, yeah, I had no problem with any of it.
Okay, yeah. I think
this is what we're fans of. These guys yipping back and forth and hopefully fighting each other.
True. So let me ask you this on the follow-up. Do you think Islam Makachev deserves the next title shot against the Dustin Poirier Charles Oliveira winner, or do you think it should go to the Geichi Chandler winner?
Geichi Chandler winner. Actually, I guess, yeah, I firmly believe that. Chandler, I don't see him winning, but if he were to win, it might be a tough turnaround. But, Chandler versus Poirier could be an interesting fight. So, yeah, I would say the winner of that fight ends up the next challenger, 100%.
Okay, and let's not count out Charlie Olives here, by the way.
No, I'm not counting anybody out of. I'm not counting any of those 4 men out. Those are all absolute killers. I mean, that's why we're
and Charlie Olives versus Mike Chandler too could be a great fight, right? I mean, the first was very fun.
Absolutely, there's storylines everywhere.
Yeah.
And then Geichi Poirier too. Obviously, is a fight Poirier is fight Geichi has wanted for a long time too.
Okay, so I don't want to talk long about the next one. Alexander Volkov defeated Marcin Taiborovia, unanimous decision. I thought it was a very ho-hum, bad fight.
Snooze fest.
Don't have much to say. Let's move it along. Hamza Shamayev versus Li Jingliang, the Leech. I thought this was honestly, my jaw hit the floor on this one.
Yeah, it was a startling performance.
That's a really good way to put it. It was a startling performance.
Yeah, it was like, whoa,
I really didn't.
We all know the Leech isn't elite, but we know he's a tough guy. He's ripped.
No, I thought he'd give Hamza at least a good fight.
I thought he'd lay a glove on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he picked him up, wrapped him around the chest. He was kicking and screaming. It looked like a little baby. It was just insane. He throws him down. I don't really like the talking as much because I feel like he's trying to be Khabib too much, trying to talk in the cage. I think he should just be himself.
He's evil Khabib, though. He's evil Khabib. That's kind of his thing.
No, I know, but would he have been naturally not prodded into being? Because I think that's what people want him to be. I want him to be, Shamayev. I don't want him to be Khabib 2.0 because he's much different. He's longer. He's rangier. I think he might be a better athlete. He's a bigger guy.
Whoa. No one said he's necessarily better than Khabib.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm not saying he's better on paper. I'm saying Khabib's a 155er. Shamayev's a 170, yes. Maybe a 185er. He's much longer. The guy's 6'3". Khabib's like 5'11".
Oh, yeah.
So what I'm saying is people want him to be the new Khabib, and I think he might be playing into it. I don't think he should.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it because the Leech is a great fighter. I mean, the Leech knocked out Santiago Ponzinibbio recently, and Shamayev he was like playing with your food as a little kid. I mean, he just picked him up.
Yeah, the intensity level was so...
He picked him up, started talking to Dana, brought him over to Dana, brought him down, kept talking to Dana, and choked him out. I mean,
when
it was
he
crazy.
One-shotted...
The number 11 contender, Fight Geek, he toyed with him.
Yeah, it was, like I said, that was crazy.
I don't think we got a single strike off, did he? At the most, he got one.
He's only absorbed one significant strike in 4 UFC fights.
That can't be real. That is insanity. What is
that? That is insane. Makes absolutely no sense. So
I still think I believe he loses to Burns and to Usman. Maybe he does beat Colby. I know that I have a tweet out.
I think he beats Burns personally.
You think he beats Burns and Colby?
I think he wears Burns out and TKOs him, probably ground and pound.
He doesn't have. How's he going to eat that right hand that put Usman down?
Well, if Gilbert loads up on it like the Leech did, he's going to time a perfect shot, get on top, and do what he does. I don't think he's going to submit Gilbert Burns, but
yeah, Shamayev, he that was a beautiful takedown.
I think Gilbert Burns is legitimately 5'9". Shamayev is 6'3".
Okay, all right. So moving on. We don't have time to cover too much more. Was there anything else you wanted to cover? Magomed Ankalaev had a unanimous decision win over Volkan. No time Ozdemir, light heavyweight.
Yeah, I mean, he's an interesting player. I'd like to see a little more flash, but, I mean, he's very technical. He reminds me of kind of a new Luke Rockhold skill-wise.
Yeah, I completely understand that for some reason. Amanda Ribas showed some fire in a unanimous decision win over
Oh my gosh, she looked amazing. Lost the first round bad, and then I was actually pleasantly surprised to get this pick wrong because she looked like a future title contender in the second and third rounds. Unbelievable pace, variety. I was super impressed.
Did you notice how different she looked physically? And what I mean, let me explain.
Oh,
what
yeah,
I mean.
she
was not smiling.
You
know how she used to be known for her smile, right?
Yeah.
There was no smile. There was no laughing. It was
Yeah.
business.
She just had big, focused eyes and a pace that would bury a lot of fighters in that division.
Absolutely. Okay, are we ready to move on to the next event?
Absolutely.
All right. We're gonna really quickly go to Canelo Alvarez versus Caleb Plant, the boxing match. Fight Geek, who you got this weekend?
I like Caleb Plant. I've actually been paying attention to him for the last few years, but I don't think he's going to give much resistance to Canelo. I hold Canelo in extremely high regard. I think he's the number one pound-for-pound boxer in the world. Canelo's a bad, bad dude. So I take Canelo. If I had to pick something, KO round 8.
KO round 8 for Canelo is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
What about you?
Okay, it's a fun card. It's a great card. If it sounds like I'm trying to buy time, I am, because I'm trying to see what the line is on the over/under. But okay. So I think what I honestly think is that we're gonna see Canelo get a knockout inside 10 rounds. I think it's gonna be the 9th. I'm picking the 9th round. 9th round TKO stoppage for Canelo Alvarez over Caleb Plant.
Bold strategy.
Okay.
But I think it's an interesting fight. Plant's a good athlete. I like him, but I just think he's eventually gonna tire a bit, and Canelo's just gonna march him down and land.
The over/under, by the way, the over/under is 9.5 rounds. So I swear I just saw it right now. I swear I just saw it right now.
9.5. I would say.
That's the over/under.
I'd say under.
You say under 9.5. I say over. But don't trust me, guys, because I lost that Shakur Stevenson bet by 1 second. So don't trust me.
Wow. Still, you're never gonna forget that.
I'm never forgetting that. That's gonna haunt me forever.
All right, let's get on to UFC 268.
UFC 268. Usman versus Covington 2. Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting back-to-back fire pay-per-views. It's absolutely unbelievable. It really is, and we're gonna actually start off. We're gonna start off at not the bottom of the card, but a little bit lower. We're gonna start with a prelim: Al Iaquinta's return versus Bobby Green. I'll start off, if that's okay, and predict that Bobby Green is gonna win this via unanimous decision. Who you got, Fight Geek?
Oh, man. Should have let me go first because I'm going to have to agree with you. Bobby Green. I definitely taken him by decision here. I think Al's lost 3 of 4, and Bobby Green's been more active. I just think he'll outpoint Al here. But it's going to be a fun fight.
Did you read I recently read a very well-done article. I wish I could tell you the website, the MMA media site that did it. I can't recall. It was a very well-done article about Al and sort of why he's been gone, because I think we've all been wondering, where'd Al go? And basically it talks about how he's been dealing with just sort of injury after injury after injury for the last year and a half.
Well, if that's, Al's been dealing with injury after injury for like 5 years now.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of the story of his career, unfortunately.
It was very sad. Definitely made me feel for him. It sounds like he's had a lot of injury setbacks, in particular in the last 2 years. But as you said, it's been a problem for a while.
Yeah, and which makes this a tall task versus a guy like Bobby Green, who is a very fluid striker, is actually very durable. Al's not necessarily a knockout guy to begin with, so I think the volume here leans towards Bobby Green.
Yeah, gotta agree with you. Okay, next, the prelim main event at 185 middleweight. We've got the 13-4 Andreas Michailidis from Greece taking on the 3-1 Brazilian Alex Pereira, who infamously KO'd Israel Adesanya in Glory Kickboxing, leading to that picture of Israel on the canvas unconscious. Who you got, Fight Geek, Michailidis versus Pereira?
I looked at this fight for a while, and I wanted to pick, Michailidis, but, I'm going to take Alex Pereira in this one just for the storyline. I'm hoping he can pull it out. The experience is obviously on the other side, but, he has a lot of hype coming in. He's obviously an amazing striker. Let's hope he can keep it on the feet and get him out of there.
Ready? I got Alex Pereira by second round knockout.
Yeah, man, that guy's got a lot of steam coming in, so hopefully he's not feeling too much pressure because that's not a huge pushover opponent right there.
No, not at all. Okay, moving on to the main card, we've got Marlon Chito Vera versus Frankie the Answer Edgar. Who you got?
Yeah, two of my favorites, but I think Marlon's trending up. Frankie, unfortunately, is trending down. I've got Marlon Vera here via split decision.
I've got Marlon Chito Vera by unanimous decision. Moving on, we've got a very fun featherweight fight. We've got Shane Burgos versus friend of the show, Billy Quarantillo. Is that how you say it?
Yep, I believe so.
Okay. Who you got, Fight Geek?
Yeah, I like this fight. Going to be a fire fight. Both guys throw back and forth. I mean, as long as Shane Burgos doesn't have too much wear and tear on him at this point, I think he's a little better, carries a little more power. So I'm taking Shane here, but yeah, it's a back and forth fight.
I got Shane by ready split decision. I hate that I keep agreeing with you. Damn it!
Oh, well, we still got three more. So
All right. Okay, so next we've got Justin, the highlight Geichi versus Iron Michael Chandler. I will start off with this pick, and I've got Justin Geichi by first round TKO.
Yeah, I mean, hard to disagree there. I'm going to say Justin Geichi, third round TKO.
All right. Should be a good one. Moving on.
I think leg kicks will be a factor here. Michael Chandler has struggled to receive leg kicks, and I think Geichi might be one of the more brutal kickers in the world at this point.
Yeah, both fighters coming in with 22 wins. Geichi's record 22-3. Chandler's 22-6.
But both guys willing to engage means that this is surefire fireworks.
Definitely agreed. Okay, moving on to the co-main event. The first title fight of the night is, of course, Rose Namajunas versus Zhang Weili 2. Not to be missed. What an epic event. Fight Geek, start us off. Who you got in this co-main event header?
Yeah, I mean, wow. This was one of the more shocking results in recent memory. Hard to go away from Rose. I mean, she's just so technical. She's just such a master at what she does. Unless she makes a mistake, she really doesn't let girls get the advantage on her. So I'm taking Rose Namajunas in a more back and forth war this time via unanimous decision.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you that it's going to be a totally different fight and a far more back and forth war. It's a very good way to put it. I also see it going to a decision. I don't think there's going to be a stoppage. And I've got Rose Namajunas winning this one by 3 rounds to 2. Across the board, unanimous decision victory for Rose and still.
Hashtag unanimous decision podcast.
All right. Okay. Moving on to the main event. Kamaru Usman versus Colby Chaos Covington 2. Fight Geek, start us off. Who you got here?
I feel like our picks have just been so boring, but I mean, so many.
We don't make fake picks for fake drama. We pick them live. We don't discuss them before, and every once in a while it happens like this. Every once in a while, this is what happens.
I have a hard time seeing anyone beating Kamaru Usman in his current form. Haven't seen Colby Covington in a long time. I anticipate seeing a great version of him.
The over-under's 3.5 rounds. Over or under 3.5 rounds, Fight Geek?
Kamaru Usman, 4th round TKO.
I got him 3rd round TKO. I think it's going to be inside 3.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be... I have a feeling Kamaru Usman, it's going to be brutal. You know, he's just
You think Colby makes it to the fourth, though, huh? That's doing pretty well.
There's a lot of pride involved, and the thing Colby does is he can avoid. He's not going to sit out at range like Masvidal did. He's going to be up in Usman's face, kind of pushing the pace more, throwing his little short shots, staying in his face, not allowing Usman to really load on those monster shots like Masvidal was allowing him to.
I was going to say, he's got to look out, though, because not only does Kamaru have a big right, but he's got a big jab, right?
Absolutely. So Colby's going to try and keep it close so he's not allowing Usman to extend that, those big power punches.
Usman might have the best jab in the UFC, actually. The most powerful jab.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, it's up there for sure.
It's a power jab for sure.
Yeah. I mean, working with Trevor Whitman has turned him into a completely different creature, and I would imagine he looks even sharper this time with more time under Whitman.
Okay, so I've got Usman, round 3, TKO. You've got Usman, round 4, TKO. So with that, we're going to jump right back after this. Thanks so much, guys, and then we'll be back with listener questions and more. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude letting you know that this episode of the Split Decision Podcast is brought to you by TotalAggressionClothing.com. Visit www.TotalAggressionClothing.com and use the promo code 46210 to receive a special Split Podcast discount on all Total Aggression hats, shirts, hoodies, and more. Again, that's www.TotalAggressionClothing.com with promo code 46210. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 117, here with my always brilliant co-host, The Fight Geek, and it is now time for my favorite section, Listener Questions! Thank you.
All right, let's get to them.
Thank you for that.
I've got a couple from this week that we wanted to make sure and catch. I'm going to start off with those.
Let's go.
So, all right, let me pull them up. The first one is from Marcel, at Marcel_ZA.
Marcel, what up?
He says, will Sandman be the Ortega Benavidez of the bantamweight division? Where is his ceiling? I think this is a great question.
That's such a great question. That's such a great question. And I'm cringing a little because I'm thinking partly like maybe, but maybe, but I truly do think that if he can, especially if someone else can get Jan out of there some way, somehow, then he's got a great shot at least winning the belt once.
Yeah, agreed. He's only 29 years old. I think that he showed he's championship caliber at this point. He's in a very rare era. I still see him as kind of like Carlos Condit 2.0, maybe potentially someday an interim champion, and then, maybe 6-7 years down the road, once this crew's aged out, maybe even 5 years down the road, he's able to capture something or still have the opportunity to capture something. But yeah, he's a great fighter. The fact that he withstood the charge that Jan brought on last weekend is a testament to himself, because
he's got so much heart.
And he was still in it. He was taking shots. Oh, yeah. He was still trying to implement his game plan. He was never completely washed in that fight. So, even at the end of the fight, it's he still walked out of there on his own too. His face wasn't brutalized. I mean, the kid knows how to defend himself in there versus killers. So, he is championship caliber in my opinion, and I definitely think he has the opportunity to win the title. I think I would say pound for pound, I rate him as a better fighter than both Ortega currently and Benavidez at his peak. Just think, he's a better all-around fighter.
I think he'll be a better all-around fighter at the end of his career than Aljamain Sterling was. What about that?
I agree there. I mean, you look at Brian Ortega, because I think that's kind of the main comparison, Brian Ortega has been absolutely butchered at the championship level.
Yeah, that's true.
And we've seen
against Volkanovski and Holloway, who are two amazing killers.
Yeah, true, but I mean, when he's got to the apex of his level, it has not gone well at all.
True. Yeah, agreed.
But, I mean, I think Corey Sandhagen, I gave him 2 rounds. He got 1 round. Well, he was washed by, a guy who right now probably is a top 5 bantamweight of all time. It's no shabby feat.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Okay, what do we got next?
I got one more, and this one is from Joe Garza.
Joe Garza, what up?
Excuse me. He says, does Hamza Shamayev beat Colby Covington in the first half of round 1 or the second half? LOL.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I remember that. I remember seeing that. That's a great... Okay, I like it. I like the fire. I like it. Fikey,
so a little humor there. I mean, I think Colby hangs in a bit, but it's crazy to say that he would finish him in the first. I'd like to see how Colby looks this weekend, but I see Colby getting out of the first round versus that guy.
I agree. I thank you for saying that. I agree. Guys, hold your horses a little bit. No, I don't think Colby, I know.
Last time I saw Colby Covington, I thought he was elite. So
I need to see this weekend, but as of right now, honestly, I do think that maybe only Burns and Usman, they might be the only 2 welterweights that can beat Shamayev.
You cannot like Colby Covington because he's an idiot.
He's a great fighter. He's a great fighter, no doubt.
You can't discredit what he brings to the table as a prime welterweight.
He's a great mixed martial artist. He's one of the best. As John Anik said, he's one of the best of all time. He's one of the best of all time.
I don't know about all time, but he's definitely a top 2 or 3 guy in the world right now.
No, but I'm talking top 15 welterweights all time.
He's in that range.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Okay. All right.
All right, you got anything queued up?
No, I don't, but let me do that.
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
Okay. All right, so first question comes from our man... that's at Maser Louis, Luzor, at Maser Louis, at MaserLouie. He says, #AskSplitPod. Seriously, how long until Hamza and Islam fight for their titles, and who do they fight next? Or do you think they're ready without another win? Fight Geek, start us off.
I think Shamayev could fight for a title in one fight if he beats Gilbert Burns.
He's ranked 10 right now, by the way. Rankings just came out. Shamaev's number 10.
Yeah, well, when you have 2.7 million...
I'm just saying. Go ahead.
I'm just saying his profile is big enough to be fast-tracked.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he can win. He can fight for a title in one fight if he beats Gilbert Burns.
And what about Islam?
Islam, I don't think Dan Hooker's championship caliber, so I think, Islam may still need 2 wins to fight for a title.
Okay, I think it could be. I think they might be. They might both be only 1 away, or it could be 2, 1 to 2.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that between Conor McGregor returning in the next 18 months or whatever, that he won't get
McGregor's not fighting Islam. He wants no
part
of it.
No, what I'm saying, though, is if Dustin Poirier is the title holder in a year from now, a McGregor fight would do much more numbers than Poirier fighting Islam Makachev at that time.
You really think? If McGregor loses 3 times to Poirier, that's going to be like the only thing. That's going to be the first thing everyone has to bring up on his resume. Like, oh, he lost 3 fights to
his
Poirier.
fans will just blindly ignore 2 of them like they do the last one, and it'll just never be considered a loss.
They have to, unfortunately, live in reality, though.
I'm not sure that they do.
Okay. All right. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. All right. So anyways, I think that to answer your question, Louis, I think that both of them could be as close as just 1 more win away, or as much as 2, and no more than that for both of them. My opinion.
Absolutely.
Okay. This next question comes from a Split Podcast OG, Paul O'Kelly. That's at SparksF1. Guys, give him a follow. Love this guy. Mario Kart Super Nintendo Mario Kart World Champion. Not kidding. And it's awesome. He says, do you think a Grand Prix style format like PFL Bellator is the way to go for the UFC welterweight division? They have enough strong fighters to make it a really good bracket, in my honest opinion. Quick second question, if possible. Were you impressed by Clarissa in her second MMA fight? Let's take the second question first. Did you see Clarissa Shields' unanimous decision loss in the PFL?
Yes.
I believe it was unanimous, unless it was a split decision. No, it was unanimous. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's a very raw MMA fighter who's being put in there with people who have been training much longer than her at that skill. So
I was impressed with. I'm impressed with her hand speed. To answer Paul's question.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you be?
I'm impressed with her striking speed and her hand speed.
She's been hitting mitts for years. She's obviously, credentialed as a boxer. Everybody knows who she is. So yeah, she's gonna have.
She's very rough around the edges, obviously, but
But I think you see that, if you get the fight to the ground, that's null and void.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is what it is. I think it's obviously, lackluster matchmaking. They just, it doesn't mean that Clarissa Shields' MMA career is over, but, people do tune in for the zeros and the undefeated and the illusion of unbeatable. So, but Cyborg lost her first fight and then won 20 in a row. So, I mean, it's been done before. I expect more out of Clarissa Shields.
I feel like that's happened to plenty. Yeah.
Huh?
That's happened to more fighters than people realize. They lose one and then they win a bunch after.
Well, yeah, that's the name of the game, isn't it? I think people are too obsessed with the zeros. I mean, the losses generally make fighters greater and the storylines stronger.
Well, but that's what's great about MMA. Let's be real. We're not too obsessed with the zeros in MMA. That's boxing's problem, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But anyways, okay, so I feel like we've answered that second question, but do you think a Grand Prix style format is the way to go for the UFC welterweight division, Fight Geek?
I don't know.
It's realistically, don't. So it's tough, Paul, to answer your question. It's tough for me to take it seriously just because I know Dana will never do it,
Exactly.
Like, he's not going to do it. So,
and he's not he'll never do it because they're doing it.
Right, exactly. It's not that it's a bad idea, Paul. It's not that at all. It's that, like you just said, Fight Geek, because they're doing it, Dana's not going to do it.
But I mean, obviously, would a bracket be amazing? Yeah, but I like a bigger bracket that plays out, over a little more time. The PFL, I think their season
I don't like the PFL.
By.
I don't like their format. I've been pretty outspoken about that.
I think it rushes by. I think that there's not enough separation in the points to really kind of, tell a story. I think Kayla Harrison was the 2 or 3 seed in PFL, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, PFL's a mess. But Bellator does the Grand Prix very well, in my opinion.
I mean, they have a lot of fights fall out in those Grand Prix, unfortunately.
That's going to happen.
Bellator seems to drag those things out forever.
Remember, Daniel Cormier became the Strikeforce heavyweight champion as an alternate.
That's a decade ago, though. They don't run like that anymore.
My point is, no, because you're saying fights fall through. I'm saying, well, they fell through and Daniel Cormier became a champion and then he went on to bigger and better things, right?
Absolutely. I'm not saying that fights falling through can be, managed. What I'm saying is these things take so long to play out that I think you end up seeing them hurt like the actual divisions that they're trying to develop,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very fair. I think that's well put. Yeah, so do I think it'd be great? Yes, I do, Paul. I think it'd be great, but I just don't think it's going to happen. But yes, welterweight would be very fun to have a Grand Prix.
Of course.
Okay, moving on to our man, Friendly Sparring Podcast. Great show. Give it a listen. That's Aaron, a.k.a. Juice from Friendly Sparring Podcast. He says, if you could let the ref for the Dos Santos versus Saint-Denis fight officiate one more fight, which one would it be? Usman versus Covington 2 for me. # Ask Split Pod. Ooh, I love that one. What a fun little question.
Go ahead. I'll let you take this one.
Are you sure? Wait, no, you go first. I want to think a little bit.
So essentially he's asking us who we want to see get brutalized?
Bilal Muhammad versus Hamza Shamayev.
Really?
Or Michael Chandler versus Justin Geichi.
Oh, okay. Low-hanging fruit right there.
Yeah, I think my answer is Bilal Muhammad versus Hamza Shamayev. Not a fan of Bilal.
I'm trying to find the hate in my heart, and I just can't. Let's say
Bilal. Science is real, guys.
I wish he would have been in there with Tai Tuivasa and Greg Hardy. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, Greg Hardy's a good one. What was I thinking?
Well, I thought you'd go to John Jones for sure. But I think John is moved on.
John's too irrelevant, man. He's not even a real fighter.
Your hate for John has passed you by.
It's because he's irrelevant. He's not a fighter.
If he came back, beat Francis, and then popped for roids, would it reinvigorate your hate for him?
If he beat Francis and popped for roids, my head would explode. My head would explode.
Right. Anyways, yeah.
Imagine what would happen if he beat Francis and popped for roids. How mad I'd be.
Don't put it past him, dude.
Oh my God, dude. I think I would cry. I think I'd cry. Yeah, that'd be really embarrassing for me.
Anyway, so all right, fun question.
Yeah, great one. Really enjoyed that. Okay, next one from our man, Zan Bando, Split Podcast OG. That's at Zan Bando 99. Great MMA writer. He says, "Hey fellas, excited for the episode. I have 2 questions this week. 1, will you simultaneously watch Canelo Plant and UFC 268 or just pick one to key in on? 2, if Covington evens the score at 1 apiece, is a trilogy in the cards? #AskSplitPod. So let me start with that second question. If Covington evens the score at 1 apiece, I think absolutely you've got to do Usman Covington 3. To me, that would be one of the biggest trilogies in history at that point.
Absolutely, and I mean,
right?
You know how much noise Colby will be making if he actually beats him? It'll be an absolute monster grudge match, no doubt.
Do you think, though, that Colby will be able... Some people are saying, then Colby will refuse to give Usman the immediate rematch. Maybe he'll try to fight Masvidal or something else. I think they would do a trilogy.
I could 100% see him gaming it that way. 100%.
Does Dana allow it, though? I mean, Usman is the 4-time defending champ.
It depends. If everybody starts hating Colby and tuning in to see him get, knocked out, strange things happen when people win the belt sometimes.
I'm just saying they would have to do Usman Covington 3, no?
Well, obviously, but let's say it's scheduled a 3rd time and somebody trips over a wire in an interview, and then Colby has to fight, like you said, Masvidal for no reason, or maybe Shamayev is next after winning, or
right.
Maybe Colby wants to fight, someone random just because. Maybe he fights Nate Diaz for a title shot. Who knows? Right.
Yeah, that's fair. So yeah, I would say absolutely, Zan, that yes, a trilogy is definitely in the cards if Covington wins. And then will we be watching Canelo Plant in 268 simultaneously? I'm probably going to have...
Let me answer this one. You won't actually have to, because Canelo Plant main event will absolutely be sitting and waiting to start their event until UFC
will they?
268 is done.
Really?
I mean,
they don't always do that.
Yeah, I mean, they don't?
Boxing? Not always, no.
Okay. I mean, the last few times they've actually had... some of the main events, Canelo specifically, sitting in the waiting room, waiting for some of the other events to stop.
No, I get what you're saying. I think you're right, actually. When I'm thinking about it, I think Canelo,
I don't think that they're going to have the main events on at the same time. I don't think Dana, knowing the kind of business he wants to do, is going to have his pay-per-view main event going up against a pay-per-view superstar main event, considering he respects boxing the way he does. I'm sure they'll be staggered.
Sure, now, but you know Dana, it's going to start when it starts and it's going to happen when it happens. No?
I'm sure that they can do things with pacing. I think we notice every now and again that some cards go...
Okay, I mean, I kind of hear what you're saying. You're kind of dancing around it. He's not going to do that dramatically. My opinion is Dana...
The only reason it might not is because it's Showtime and Dana doesn't particularly like them.
Yeah, I hear you. But
no, I'm gonna be paying attention to the UFC 268 prelims.
Totally agree. That's look, guys, Canelo doesn't have great rivals. That's one of his big problems. Triple G was his rival and beat him twice, and then they said no, he didn't, and then they kind of canceled Triple G, which is fine, but that's kind of what boxing does. And besides Triple G, Canelo doesn't really have equals.
He beat him twice. It's 1-1.
Okay, fine. That's fair. But anyways, yeah, I don't. No Plant has no chance, and no, I'm not going to be as into watching it. Yes, I will have it on a small screen on a computer on the side. Yes.
If it goes head-to-head with any of the top 2 or 3 fights, it will not be on the big screen.
Yeah. Okay, I think we both agree. So this next question comes from our man, Eduardo. That's at Landacrew, a true Split Podcast OG, if I've ever seen one before. And he says, have you guys ever legitimately cried after watching a UFC fight? #AskSplitPod. What a interesting question. Legitimately cried. Oh, wow.
I'll let you go.
I really don't think. I know. I'm so tempted. I know that. I wish there was like a funny yes story. I really don't think so. But I'll tell you what was close. I mean, if you're asking when were you the most devastated, when were you the most upset? No, it was not DC Jones 2 that I saw live. The truth is, I thought Jones would win that, even though I was heartbroken. But I expected that. I'll tell you, I was the most sad by far at UFC 249 when Justin Geichi beat Tony Ferguson pillar to post. I was extremely upset and sad. I didn't cry, but I cried on the inside.
Okay. Mine is actually more like, positive emotions. When Michael Bisping won the title and he was giving a speech and you could just see the passion and the love in that guy had for the sport and persevering.
Oh, that's a good one, yeah.
It was just, there was a welling of positive emotion because, even more so than Glover Teixeira for me last weekend for whatever reason, just thought that was the ultimate as far as heartfelt moments.
Yeah. I think that's definitely very fair, and a very good answer. Yeah. Okay, so I'm trying to see what we've got next. Okay, so this next question comes from our man, Eric Buchert. That's at ATANAK74. Give him a follow, guys. He says, I think most people realize that Colby Covington's current persona started as a gimmick, but do you think at this point it has crossed over into reality in a permanent way? Do you think Colby can drop his heel routine and maintain his relevance in the UFC? #AskSplitPod. This is a really good question.
Yeah, it is a great question, and I appreciate him asking, and I 100% believe, yes, he can drop his heel routine.
But
Colby,
will he? But can he? Will he?
I think he will, 100%. He's in the prime of his career.
When I say can he, I mean can he personally do it? Not can he get away with it. Can he actually do it?
I don't think we see who Colby Covington is in his personal life a whole lot. I think we see the divisive, kind of heel that he wants to be. The guy's a self-proclaimed
He comes off like a
fan.
huge jerk. Let's just call it like we see it.
Yeah, well, we are in 2021. The heel persona has gotten progressively jerkier, for lack of a better word. This is what we get nowadays. You get people who cross the line. You get people who make jokes about the wrong things, but to a certain extent, he's still playing a role to a T in the prime of his career. I really see him as, a Chael Sonnen 2.0.
Come on. He's not half as clever.
True, he's not half as clever, but he has the same profile.
Chael brought intelligence to it.
High-intensity cardio wrestler who is a big fan of, classic wrestling and kind of the personas.
Oh, I thought Chael's heel persona was complete. I thought it was way funnier than Colby's.
100%. I'm not saying that he's not. I'm just saying that Colby, who's from the same area, who has the same career path, is taking similar notes. And I am sure that once he's 50 years old and he's done with his fighting career and his public persona, he's going to be fine just being a normal guy.
I still maintain, and I know Colby, I still maintain it would have been the ultimate move of a legend if right after, because his gimmick is so politically connected and motivated, if he had just, after the 2020 election, found a Biden hat, if those even exist, find one of them somewhere in a flea market somewhere, or just make one, Colby, and just start rocking and say, no, I've been pro-Biden the whole time. That would have been so funny. But he didn't agree. But that would have been so effing funny.
That would have been a different turn. But yeah, I think he's definitely playing a role. He's a wrestling fan growing up, so I think he's just indulging it. Yeah. Especially because people are so reactionary now, and he's getting a reaction when for a long time in his career nobody cared about him.
But do they react as much anymore, Fight Geek? I think it's gotten really stale. Like, I don't care. Like, I feel like people don't react. They don't get upset anymore. They're like, you're boring, Colby.
I don't think he's taking up any headspace, but I think they're going to love to root against him this weekend.
Yeah, but, like, I don't know. I don't find it emotionally charging anymore. I'm just like, oh, yeah, like I'm kind of, boring. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it doesn't hold much weight. It is what it is, Everybody knows it's a gimmick. I think he's come out and kind of shown his true colors a couple different times that, he's kind of just playing a game and acting like an idiot.
I'm just a little bored by it at this point, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, I never cared about it. What I care about is that he's a, great pace,
fighter,
intense wrestler who's going to come in there and push guys to their limit, has an opportunity to break them. So,
and that's what he is, guys. And let's be clear here. It's easy to hate Colby. He's a hateable guy. But he's one of the best mixed martial artists in the world. That's facts.
He's in unbelievable shape. He can fight forever.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's move on to a question from our man, another Split Podcast original gangster, Jalen Ware at strive2b_gr8. Great. Love Jalen. He says, beforehand, did UFC make a mistake rescheduling that immediate title rematch between Wiley and Rose? Losing twice to the same person can kill your momentum. The Colby versus Usman 2 example is a very good one. It's built anticipation, whereas Wiley and Rose might be coming too soon. What do you think? #AskSplitPod. Fight Geek, what do you think?
I think absolutely too soon, as we saw with Cody Garbrandt.
Same with Vettori Adesanya too. They forced that one, and now it's a dead story.
Well, not as much with that that I think Vettori just came back and showed that he's young enough. I think the other cases, Cody Garbrandt, that quick title rematch ruined his career in my opinion. So
it didn't help it.
Extent. Yeah.
It didn't help.
I thought that was a bad decision. I think this is a terrible decision, especially because there's so many valuable fights on the table for both girls. I think Rose versus Carla Esparza made a lot of sense, gave the division a little room to breathe. Joanna Whaley, too, doesn't have to be for a belt. That's a main event, huge fight. So I thought they had other options, but Dana loves to shove these things right down our throat, a la, McGregor, Poirier 3.
Here's why, let me just play devil's advocate. Here's why I don't think it's such a bad fight. I honestly think it's a fine fight. I'm excited for the fight myself. I think it's a great fight. In terms
Absolutely.
By the way, the odds are -115 pick'em, dead even. Pick'em. It's a pick'em fight, and I think that's accurate. Maybe I'd slightly favor Rose, but I think it's going to be really fun. And here's why it's not a big deal, or why it's not the end of the world. Hear me out. If Weili Zhang loses to Rose, Fight Geek, strawweight is a very deep division with a lot of talent. And I don't think, even though Rose is one of the greatest strawweights, maybe the greatest strawweight of all time, it's yet to be proven, of course, definitely one of them, she's going to lose the belt sooner rather than later. I just think that strawweight's too deep, and so that's why I think it's not such a huge deal for Zhang. Is that fair, or am I off there?
I don't know. I think it's a deep division, but I definitely think that Rose is the class of the division.
Yeah, sure.
I just think that the division needed room to breathe. These are great fighters. They're all pretty young. They can circle around back to each other in the short-term future. They don't need to run it right what if Weili comes in and just fights a horribly timid fight because she got knocked out the last time, and then is 0-2 to the champion, but then just is, it just puts her in a really odd position. There's no reason for her to do that now, especially with the Joanna fight on the table, and then we've seen a handful of other girls right underneath the very top that are worthy.
I know we both picked Rose, by the way, but for the record, guys, don't sleep on Zhang's chances. She is in with a serious chance. She's been training with Cejudo in Arizona. She has not been training in China. She made the decision to train in the States for this rematch, and I think Weili is in with a real shot here.
Yeah, I think it's a tough ask for her. Rose has been training with Geichi and Usman, so not that she's training one-on-ones with them, but that's her team. So it's like they've got a great level of expertise going on in that gym as well.
That's true. Absolutely true. Okay, so moving on to what I believe might be the final question, at least one of them. This is from @Zo Yours Truly. @Zo Yours Truly, Z-O Yours Truly. He says, after Usman beats Colby again, how many more wins will he need to be considered the best welterweight over GSP? Also, which division, men or women, other than women's featherweight, needs the most help/stars? #AskSplitPod. So let's start with that second question, Fikey. Which division or divisions, besides women's featherweight, needs the most help/stars? I'll say right now, men's flyweight jumps out, men's middleweight jumps out.
I would say men's 205 jumps out. They have a 42-year-old champion. And the long-reigning champion is gone.
It's deeper than... It's got some
There's not one box office star in the whole division.
Yeah, that's true.
Other than the champion, there's not even a main event fighter, more or less. I know Anthony Smith and guys like that, but they're not big pay-per-view.
Lionheart. Yeah, Lionheart.
He has never headlined a pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's... He did against Jones at 230.
Oh, well, yeah, it's the Challenger. That's not his pay-per-view. Come on.
All right. Okay, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
So, and I would say, obviously, low-hanging fruit is the women's 145-pound division.
He said he can't count that. He said he can't count that.
So I'd say men's 205. They have the oldest champion in the UFC, and
men's middleweight is the one that's most overrated. It's not good. It needs more people.
It needs depth for sure. Absolutely.
And the one that I think gets a little too much hate that's weirdly pretty decent is welterweight. Granted, the top welterweights often act like bitches and dance around and don't fight. But when you force them together, it's good.
A great division. You get celebrity fighters.
That's what I'm saying. No, I'm saying welterweight's great. I'm saying welterweight's great. Yeah, welterweight is great.
Yeah, I love welterweight. I think bantamweight after this past weekend really is leading the way in my opinion.
Featherweight's great. Lightweight's pretty damn good.
The intrigue with Aljamain Sterling coming back, I have to see him fight. I have to see it now.
He's going to get his ass whooped.
And then I got to see Henry Cejudo versus Peter Yan. Got to see that.
Is Cejudo coming back?
No, but not to my knowledge, but I still need to see that fight.
He's babbling about returning at 145.
Well, it makes a lot more sense to come back at 135.
I agree with you.
All right. Do you got any more?
I don't. Oh yes, I do. Okay, this one's from Mace. That's @Mason Johnson, our man. He says, "Can you guys give your predictions for who will be the champ of each division this time next year?" #AskSplitPod. Ooh boy, that's a lot.
Flyweight, Moreno.
Figueiredo. Disagree. Go ahead. Next one. Bantamweight.
Yan.
Yeah, we agree. Okay, go ahead. To
Featherweight. Max Holloway. Actually, no, because I think he's going to chase a stupid 155
Volkanovski. Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to chase
Volkanovski.
Okay. Lightweight. Islam
Dustin
Makachev.
Poirier.
I think it's going to be Islam.
I think it's going to be Dustin Poirier.
Okay, all right. Welterweight.
Welterweight. Kamaru Usman.
Yep. Okay, middleweight. Now we're having fun.
Middleweight. I don't see any middleweights touching Izzy. I mean, he has been dominant there.
He might move up. He might go up full time to 205.
That makes no sense.
Whitaker might beat him.
No. But
all right. I agree. I think
Whitaker,
Izzy. My pick is Izzy, unfortunately.
205. Now, here's an interesting one. I'm going to say Rakic.
Ooh. I'm going to say... Damn, bro. Rakic, yeah.
You take it, Rakic over Yuri?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's going to be the future, like, big title fight. So that's that. Hopefully that's what we see in the
I think Rakic is going to be the champ as well. Okay.
Heavyweight, Francis Ngannou.
We
gotta go back and do the women now.
Women's strawweight. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be Rose.
Yep, Rose.
Flyweight. I think it's going to be Casey O'Neill. I'm totally lying. It's Valentina, of course.
Yeah, she'll be in the top 5.
Yeah. And then women's bantamweight, Nunes.
Nunes. I have a feeling Nunes might fight once more there and retire. There's nothing left. It's a wasteland.
Well, I'll tell you what's left for her: a whole bunch of money. A whole bunch of easy money.
Whole bunch of money to fight Holly Holm for the 3rd time?
To fight whoever the
heck.
Or
for the 2nd time?
To fight Macy Chase Song. To fight...
I don't think she's interested in that at this point. But
she's not for a bunch of money?
Is she making a bunch of money to be the women's... I mean, has she not made money? She's got commercials.
I think she's making money. I think she's definitely making money.
I think she's good. I guess we'll see, though. But yeah, I mean, if she's still active, for sure.
If I'm Amanda and I'm easily winning these fights, I don't know why I would stop. May as well run up the score.
Well, I mean, you have to think she also has a young child who's going to be aging, who's going to have more needs in the next few years. Her heart and her intentions might change in the near future. So there's a lot of variables when something like that happens.
Yeah, true that. I definitely agree. Okay, so is that it for the questions?
What about women's 145? Amanda, or do you think that Kayla Harrison will make her way over and hold that belt in a year?
Oh my gosh. First of all, there's no way Kayla Harrison signs with the UFC. She's going to either go to the PFL again, which is what I think she'll do, or possibly Bellator. She might go to Bellator for sure. She's not going to the UFC. And if she did, she would get whooped by Amanda.
Have you been following along? Her and Amanda would never fight, dude.
No, that's not true. Just because why? Because they're both at ATT? That's not true. They would fight.
I honestly don't think they would.
No one is. Certainly neither of them have said that.
No, I don't know. I get the impression that that's not what they're looking to do.
So what do you think Kayla's trying to do then?
Well, I mean, I just told you. I think Amanda Nunes is coming towards the end of her competitive career.
Okay, maybe.
That's how I see it.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't think Kayla could beat Cyborg or Nunes. No way, no how.
But I mean, like you said, she should stay in PFL. She's a millionaire. She's making $1 million plus every year over there.
With her eyes closed, not even trying.
Yeah, I mean, she's not getting to fight on big Saturday night McGregor pay-per-views or anything like that, but she's got the best job in MMA.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, does that wrap us up?
I think it does.
Okay, real quick before I hand it off to Fight Geek. Guys, if you could please hit subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, that makes a huge difference. If you could do us a huge favor, hop onto Apple Podcasts, give us a quick 5-star review. Every 5-star review for the next 2 months will be considered in our raffle to win an amazing split decision podcast prize that is totally unique and is going to be worth honestly probably $500,000 to $600,000 in a few years. It might even be signed by me and Fight Geek. It's hard to put into words how much money it'll be worth, but go ahead, go on to Apple iTunes, give us that 5-star review. All you have to do is write a few words. It is good. We enjoyed it. It is a good show. That's it. 5 stars, and you will be entered into the raffle. We are absolutely trying to beat the system, be corrupt with the system. I admit that. We admit that. But that will enter you into the raffle. With that being said, Fight Geek, take us away, baby!
But how many stars, Phil?
5. 5 out of 5.
All right, guys. As usual, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. I'm at the Fight Geek MMA. He's at Phil the MMA Dude. We're at Split_Podcast. It's 4 words, the Split Decision Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week. Peace.
Peace.